What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome back to the Triple Play Fantasy YouTube show and channel and my channel. So I appreciate you guys. I'm Kevin at the boys underscore 22. And every week on Friday morning, I kind of do a Devy preview. And so for this week, we're looking at college football week 4. And I always try to go through 2 at each position and maybe a tight end if they're any relevant that day and that weekend. And then 2 games that I'm definitely going to be watching this weekend and game picks and just kind of how that works. So be on the lookout for this every Friday, and let's roll into it. And as always, we'll give you highlights, stats, kind of what we should expect from these guys going forward. And I went a little different this time, talk about some different kids. So Tanner Mordecai is a junior from SMU. Obviously, he's transferred from Oklahoma. It was hard to play at Oklahoma, and he's playing against Kyler Murray, Spencer Rattler, those guys. But he's got SMU rolling right now. And to be honest, they could be challenging Cincinnati, Memphis in the AAC. So right now, as always, he's got a pretty good frame. He's 81 for 111, 73% completion percentage, 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 86 rushing yards. And he's got him playing and out there in SMU. So let's take a look at kind of some of his tape and what people like about him. Now the real question is he Devy relevant? And I think that the numbers that he's putting up is something that you have to respect. I think that there's time will tell. He plays a pretty tough TCU team. And as my good friend Christian Williams pointed out in our Devy Primer for Fantasy Pros, TCU is only giving up 192 yards through the air. So TCU is legit defense. So what can Tanner do against that defense? I think that's the question mark that we have to ask them and see. But SMU's offense is rolling. They're going to put up numbers. Obviously, if you have him in any C2C format, you're happy right now because he's just putting up points. But can he do that against a very, very tough squad? I think he can. It'll be interesting to see. This game is actually a fun little game and a down slate. This slate isn't the greatest, but it is a little fun little game. I think he has the tools. He does it. He's had a great quarterback play, and he pushes the ball up easy. He's got pretty good accuracy. He knows where to get the ball to. I like his IQ from there. And, hey, he beat out a 5-star, President Stone at SMU, a 5-star recruit to take this job. So he's competed. He's gotten there. So watch out for Tanner Mordecai. Again, know who he is. And just kind of this weekend, he could put his name out there, especially if he beats TCU, a good TCU squad. So be on the lookout for that. Now, next guy up, Baylor Zappy, young kid. Okay, so let's talk about him. He's put up 56 for 75, 74% completion percentage here for Western Kentucky. 859 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 31 rushing yards, and a touchdown. Now, I think he's a fifth-year senior transfer, obviously, at West Kentucky. But, hey, they're putting up numbers. And so when you watch what Zappy's been able to do, and, again, check out our Devy Primer, please. Christian does an amazing job with this, and it's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about these guys is, he's 6'1", 220. He's put up those numbers. He's completed 70% of his passage, and then what he points out, he's averaging 11 attempts per attempt, or 11 yards per attempt. That's fantastic. Okay, and when you watch him, he also has an 85.7 adjusted completion percentage. So he's doing what he needs to do at Western Kentucky. They have transfers all over the place, wide receiver, quarterback. Everywhere on that team is transfers, and they're putting up the numbers that you like to see. Now, what can he be in the NFL? For me, he's a C2C product only. But as far as Devy goes, listen, I keep saying if Ben DiNucci can play backup minutes and actually start a game, there's no reason to think that like Baylor Zappy, Tanner Mordecai, these guys can't play in the NFL. Again, DiNucci's doing it. Shit, anybody can do it. So I do think that they put up the numbers there. I do think the scheme helps him tremendously. He has athletes everywhere around him. But I definitely wanted to give him a shout out because this kid is dealing right now. And these are 2 small school kids, Western Kentucky, SMU. So again, when you're looking at these guys and what they can be, I think that we could be talking about some, especially in this class. Maybe they come out, and obviously Zappy's going to come out. Maybe Tanner comes out. And, hey, late round, super flex guys. If Davis Mills can get drafted in the 3rd round, we'll see with these guys, especially with this draft class. And what the team needs. NFL, those teams are going to need a lot of different quarterback. That position is going to open up. So just keep an eye on these small school guys. I know we can talk about the Rattlers and everything, and I'm interested to see how Rattler does this weekend. Just because, hey, it's time for him to put up or shut up, especially with West Virginia team that's good. So can Spencer Rattler take that next step and actually have it here? I think that's a storyline as well. But I wanted to give a shout out to the younger guys. Now, as far as running backs, we're going to go to the Blue Bloods. Isaiah Spiller, 6'1", 215. So far this year, it's been okay. 40 attempts, 250 yards and a touchdown, 8 receptions, 80 yards and a touchdown. I'm not going to say that he's been lighting it up Okay, but he's a legit prospect. So when you look at Isaiah Spiller and what he's able to do, I do think that when you watch him play, I think the biggest thing is his explosiveness through the line. He does have quick feet. I think his footwork is the best in college football, and I know that he works with a footwork guru out there. But he has that ability. Now, this is a little bit from his tape last year. He hasn't had so much of his tape this year to really show. He did have a nice catch against Colorado that showed that maybe he can be a receiver out of the backfield. But to me, I think the thing that kind of separates him is in this class is really no one else. I mean, Breece Hall and him have pretty much solidified themselves as the top two guys. I don't see either one of these guys being legit running back ones. I think Spiller has a shot, but they have a big game this week. And when you're looking at, playing an Arkansas team, and that Arkansas team is legit, and they're going to have to lean on Spiller. And I think that if he has a coming out party against Arkansas, he could solidify himself as being running back one of this class. And now you're looking at a very, very high Devy asset. I like that for him. I like that about him. I think he can do that. And again, I love his contact balance, and I love what he can do. He just bounces it off guys, okay, and you'll see that every play. Watch them lean on their running game, especially against Arkansas, and see if he can have a breakout. Now, my next guy that I want to talk about is a kid that's absolutely killing it right now, and that's Kyren Williams. 2021 stats, 46 attempts, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 receptions, 155 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Let me make this clear. Kyren Williams is the only reason why Notre Dame is undefeated, okay? They've leaned on him heavy, especially in this Florida State game as you're going to watch. He is kind of silencing all the critics that we talked about with his size. Hey, everybody points to other guys like Gainwell and these other guys, but he is just a solid football player. To me, he's the clear running back 3 of this class in a tier of his own. And I like what I see out of him. And I like what he's been able to do from a receiving aspect. You're going to see it here. He has yak ability. He's strong. He's bounced off guys. He's solidified that background. The running back room, because a lot of people thought that maybe Tyree, the other guys would come in there and kind of take his spot. They're not doing that. And this is what excites me the most. Like, he's not a true receiver, but he can do this. And he has pretty good blocking ability. And I love that he can take this, you'll see it here. He has that explosiveness to go. To me, he's one of the fastest backs in this class, which isn't a ringing endorsement because there's not a lot of fast backs, but this right here is what's going to separate him in PPR formats as a Devy asset. And I think he's going to be a late round, first round pick in Superflex leagues. I really do. He's going to come out. He should come out this year. And I love everything about him. And even though Notre Dame is driving me nuts right now because Jack Cohn is still their starter, I think Kyren Williams is the guy that you have to look at and say, hey, man, this guy's actually leading this team, and got to give him shout out. So shout out here. Now, I can't not talk about Deandre Miss yet. He came back out of the dead. I'm so excited for this kid. Now, he only had 2 catches, but hey, listen, I'll take 2 catches. After not seeing him play for 2 years, it was hurting my soul having him on all my Devy rosters. But 6'3", 180, 2021 stats, he had 2 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. I just want to give a shout out to his 1 big touchdown, and it just felt like the monkey got lifted off his back a little bit because he was getting a lot of crap with the offseason, in trouble. You'll see it here. This is what he's going to do. So in high school and all those places, he was a big play threat. That was what he was. And I just wanted to run this. And again, I know there's not a ton of tape because he only had 2 catches, but this is good for this kid. I love rooting for this guy. If he can be that dude, that whole 2023 class for wide receivers gets a lot better. And that 2023 class is already amazing. Okay, I love the wide receiver class there. But if we can get Deandre Miss in that class, now we're talking about some alphas and some real alphas because he's an alpha guy. I hope he's developed. I hope he's learned it up here. But I just wanted to give Deandre a shout out because this could elevate Texas A&M's offense. And with Spiller there, if they want to win this weekend, if they have Demond and he's actually a legit prospect this weekend and he can kind of take that next step, get those targets, get those receptions, now we're talking about him moving up in that class. And I hadn't moved him down too much. I just wanted to see him play, and he did. Now, another small school kid I wanted to talk about, Devin Thompson has been absolutely just crushing it this year. He leads the NCAA in receiving yards with 453, 454. He has 25 receptions, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging 18.2 yards per catch, guys. And despite his size, he's a physical receiver. He routinely catches 50-50 situations. He uses his size to his benefit. You'll watch it here. I think the biggest thing is that he's explosive. So I want to make sure you see this. They're going to give him out of space. This is their game against North Dakota State. They were losing. There is no one catching this kid. And he is that special. He's just fast. He has that yak ability that you're going to like to see. He's going to test out the waters in terms of speed when he does this. And he can make catches, over-shoulder catches. He does that very well. He's dynamic when he touches the ball and gets out in space. Just dynamic. Returner, everything. He's going to have a value somewhere. Now, he's going to be one of the best college football receivers this season. But will that translate over for Devy? I think he lacks size. But he's going to find himself on a roster somehow. Okay, if Tutu Atwell can get drafted, Devin Thompson can get drafted. And I think Devin is a better receiver. He's a better receiving prospect. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be an amazing, Devy asset to own, but he could, he can make some noise. And I got to give a shout out to him because he's absolutely crushing the Mountain West Conference right now. And Utah State is looking pretty good. And so, again, they're going to get him out of space. Teams can utilize him well. I think teams are shifting to this. He might not get draft capital, but I don't care. If he finds himself on a roster, I think he can make some noise in the NFL. So give him a look this weekend and see what he can. Maybe you'll see something that you like. Now, the last guy we don't have film on, but I just want to give him a shout out. Grant Colacara, I think is how you say his last name. He's at SMU now. Now, a lot of people thought he was never going to play again because of injuries. He was at Oklahoma, then he transferred again to SMU. This year, he has 12 receptions, 193 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I just want to give him a shout out because this is a kid that he was a 6th-ranked tight end in the 2017 class. He had a really good sophomore year with Kyler Murray, 26 catches, 396 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He was legit, but concussions kind of forced him to retire. He came back. Looks like him and Mordecai are doing well together against Louisiana Tech. He had 7 catches, 103 yards. So, to me, he's right there, okay? And we're talking about Grant maybe coming back in this down kind of tight end class, and maybe he can make some noise. And I think that's what we want to look at. So, again, some SMU love on this thing, a little bit of Utah State love on this thing, Western Kentucky. Shout out to the little guy, especially because this slate, like I said, not a lot of games that I'm like, man, I got to watch that game. Now, the 2 games that I think that are probably the best games that I'm going to be watching or at least taking a look at, Wisconsin versus Notre Dame. Wisconsin is a 6.5-point favorite at home. This is the Jack Cohn revenge game, and I kind of threw up my mouth a little bit saying that. But he's going to be playing here. Now, if we're being honest here, Notre Dame comes off, they beat Purdue, they beat Florida State, Toledo. They came down to the wire. We know Florida State is a train wreck right now. So how good is Notre Dame really? I don't know. When you look at what Graham Mertz has done, okay, they lost to Penn State. It was close. They win against Eastern Michigan. He struggled to really establish himself. They're obviously going to run the ball, and that's been apparent with Ches Maluzzi from Wisconsin. He's done well this year. He's averaged, I think, he has 265 yards. So this game to me is going to come out of that running attack, and if Kyron Williams can be there, to me, as much as I don't want to take Notre Dame because they have scared me, I know they're not very good. I do think that Kyron Williams, Michael Mayer, and all those different kind of aspects, and I don't trust Graham Mertz. If Graham Mertz has to beat Notre Dame, they lose. If Wisconsin can just pound the ground and pound the run and control ball, I think that Wisconsin could win. I'm going to take 6.5 with Notre Dame on this one. I don't feel great about it, but I am going to pick Notre Dame. Now, the next game I am really excited about. I think Texas A&M versus Arkansas. A&M is a 5.5-point favorite in this game. Arkansas is sneaky good. KJ Jefferson is there. He's legit this season. He's looked really well. Treylon Burks is going to be one of the first receivers taken in this draft. They've been playing lights out. I love them. And then on the flip side, you have Texas A&M. They lost Haynes King. They beat Kent State. They barely beat Colorado. Then they beat New Mexico. So when we're talking about that, not a lot of big wins, but their defense is ranked number 1 or 2 in the SEC. And when you look at that, I think defensively they're going to come to play. This is going to be a battle. So they rank dead last in offense, but they rank 1st or 2nd in defense. So I do think that they're overrated right now just because they don't have Haynes. But if somehow they can lean on that rushing attack, and that defense can create turnovers, which I think they can, I think they win this game. So at the -5.5, those are the points. I'm going to take Texas A&M. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. So just remember, here are the guys that you should take a look at. Tanner Mordecai, Baylor Zappy, Isaiah Spiller, Kyron Williams, Damon DeMoss, Devin Thompson, a name to know, okay, Grant, okay, from SMU. So those are the guys you're looking at. I'm taking Notre Dame with the points. I'm going to take A&M at -5.5. And I appreciate you guys tuning in to College Football Week 4 W Preview. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week.